All right, in today's episode of the Millennial Rockstar Podcast, I had the fortune of interviewing rockstar Maria Banjo, who happens to be an assistant district attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, the wonderful thing about Maria is that she is incredibly passionate about helping other people. And you're going to see that passion really, truly come through in the interview. And one of the things that you need to know about Maria is that she is smart and she's collaborative, and she uses that to help out some of the oldest and sometimes most vulnerable citizens, the elderly. Now, one of my big takeaways from this interview with Maria was that Maria has this incredible sense of loyalty to her boss. Now, her boss actually works specifically in order to develop that loyalty, not just with Maria, but among all of the employees in the district attorney's office. And man, that loyalty really shows with Maria. Join in and see what she has to say. Hey there, this is Hammett. I'm known as the Millennial Translator because I help companies attract, retain, and engage top millennial talent. And today, we have a very special Millennial Rockstar on the Millennial Rockstar Podcast. We have Maria Banjo. Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. So what you guys don't know is you're looking at Maria and she looks very nice and very kind. But man, you get her in a courtroom and not so much. Maria is an assistant district attorney for a major county in the Atlanta area. So yeah, a little scary, right?
I do what I can.
Well, all right. So tell us about your current role in the district attorney's office.
Well, I'm currently in the Elder Abuse unit. So I prosecute cases against elders and those adults who are also disabled. And so we basically investigate the case from beginning to end, including trial.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, Maria is a very special rock star to me, mainly because she and I attended the same college, and not at the same time because one of us is older.
Oh.
But I had the pleasure of meeting Maria at an alumni event, and it was just amazing. Your passion came through, your knowledge and just general, this is how it is, this is what we're going to do, and just your command of a room. I mean, in that alumni event, this all came out. It was amazing to see.
Well, thank you. All I can do is be me, and I think that's what everyone should really try to do. Be their authentic self.
That's very, very true. Okay, so tell the audience a little bit about, because you've had a really interesting career since you left law school. So tell the audience a little bit about your career path. How did you get from college, undergrad, to your current role as the assistant district attorney?
Well, let's see here. So I knew early on I wanted to be a lawyer. Decided I wanted to help people, and the way I wanted to do it was by being a lawyer. And so after my time at Agnes Scott, I went to John Marshall Law School. That was a very difficult process because I ended up having a really low score for the LSAT. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I applied, I think, to 15 law schools and only got into one. And I thank God every day that I ended up at John Marshall Law School in Chicago, because it ended up being one of the top 10 schools for legal writing and as well for trial advocacy. And so I graduated in January of 2009 in the midst of the recession, which was very difficult for a lot of us attorneys. So as a result, I ended up opening my own law firm. I grew up, my parents owned a business, so I always have this entrepreneurial spirit. And so I figured if there isn't a job out there, I'll create one for myself. And so that's what I did. And I had my law firm for a year. And then I was still looking for a job. And what I did was I opened up Google Map, the map of Georgia, found all the counties, and started going one by one to each county and applying to the jobs. And my goal was to apply to all 159 counties in Georgia for a public defender job. Okay. And so eventually I got an offer or an interview in Covington, Georgia. I didn't realize it was different from the Covington Highway in Stone Mountain. There are two Covingtons. When I put in my GPS, I realized it was a little further east. So anyways, I got there, and at the time I had a fancy vehicle. So what I did was I hid it. I parked 2 or 3 blocks down the road. So I didn't want anyone to see the kind of vehicle I was driving and make an assumption about how much I needed the job and what kind of work I would do. Mm-hmm. And for me, I got hired before I even made it back to Sandy Springs. I got a call from them giving me an offer, and I took it. Spent about 3 years over there, 3.5 years, and I ended up defending those charged with serious felony crimes, including murder. And then it got to a point where I got too comfortable. I was like, I want to try something new, challenge myself. And so I was like, what, I want to switch sides. And so I had my current my boss then was helping with my job search. I asked him a few times to make some phone calls into the offices that I was interviewing, and that. In addition, the prosecutor that I was working against, she specifically wrote me a letter of recommendation.
Wow.
We were on opposing sides. She sent me a recommendation letter saying that, they should hire me. And as a result of that, I ended up getting hired as a prosecutor in Metro Atlanta area.
Awesome.
So, and honestly, I would say throughout my legal career so far, it's the things that you can't really put to paper that make people want to speak on your behalf, as far as your ethics and your loyalty and the kind of person you are. And with the, legal field, it's very small. And one of my early mentors said, all you have is your good name. And that is so true. And so I work hard to keep that good name, untarnished.
Oh, well, I can't imagine you ever doing anything that would tarnish that name. So, all right. So, Maria, tell us a little bit about, you walked us through your career path. And so how long have you actually been practicing law?
Almost 10 years now.
Okay. So just a little bit of time.
Just a little bit of time. Just a scotch. So
tell me a little bit about, I know that there's obviously been some ups and downs. I mean, with any career, there's ups and downs. Tell us a little bit about, what things have worked or have not worked for you in your career so far.
I would say maintaining the status quo.
Oh, okay.
Not worked. I think a lot of times, whether it's in private sector or especially in government, sometimes people like to, or they get too comfortable in what has always been.
Yeah.
Things has always been one way doesn't mean it should continue.
Right.
And, I discovered early on that I can't help myself but fix things. No matter where I'm placed, I'm like an issue spotter, because I like to streamline things and make things more efficient. But to that end, also that kind of that rubs some people the wrong way.
Okay, absolutely.
For sure. But I think I'm not being afraid to speak up when things don't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
But it's not an easy thing to do, for sure. But I think trying to maintain any kind of status quo or shrinking yourself, shrinking yourself is just something that I think, especially women or younger people, discount their own experiences and what they can bring to the table. So I think doing things like that is not helpful to you personally, but it also is not beneficial to your boss, because they're looking for talent and they're looking, hopefully, for you to be able to push them forward.
Right. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's one thing that I think that we see a lot of is a lot of times I'll talk to organizations or teams or divisions, and they're like, we want innovation. Innovation, that is like the buzzword of the day. But then when they bring people in that are supposed to be innovative thinkers, they want to put them into a box. And
Right.
that's not how innovation works. Innovation is you got to have the rough edges and you got to deal with them, because from those rough edges, you get these crazy ideas that you can take to the bank. So
Absolutely. I mean, I think having brainstorming sessions that are kind of unfiltered, my coworkers know that I will have off the wall ideas and those ideas. And I know that some of them aren't practical, right? But you have to shoot big and see what you can do instead of starting out small and already saying no.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about, and you've told us a little bit about what doesn't work for you or what has not worked for you in your career. Can you tell us a little bit about a specific stumbling block that you've had?
I would say there are a lot of stumbling blocks, and it comes in the form of, when you're in a trial lawyer, you have the judge, you have 12 jurors, you have the defense counsel, you may have an audience, you have the clerk's office, you have the bailiffs, right? These are various organizations that are judging you every day. And so as a lawyer, it's virtually impossible to know the answer to everything or anticipate everything. Sometimes you will forget things, but unlike other jobs where if you forget something, it happens, silo or whatever. Mm-hmm. So various times that I have, whether I've forgotten a key witness or forgotten how to swear someone in. The very first time I had a motion, this was like 6 months into my new job, 4 months into my new job. And I had 4 motions scheduled, motion to suppress, and I had my head elected official or appointed official, right, at my table. And I got up to get my first witness ever. And the judge was like, Mr. Banjo, you gonna swear in your witness? Judge, I don't know how to do that. I don't know those words to swear in. And so he swore in my witness. Next case, 20 minutes later, Miss Banjo, you gonna swear in your witness? I went, Judge, between the first time and the second, now I still don't. Third time, my boss had to write it out, right, on the table, and then ended up reading it. The very next day, one of my clients called the office. I want a real lawyer, blase, blah, blase, blah. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get fired. I really don't know this basic stuff, right? And I ended up winning one of the most difficult hearings that day. And it's because of my performance on that particular day that I got a promotion 2 months later to do the drug, guns, and alcohol cases because of my legal analysis. And the judge in that courtroom fell in love with me because he saw how I just kept going forward. I may not know something, and you may feel personally embarrassed, but you can't let it define me, and so, but it just took me that one day. After that day, I knew how to swear in a witness, so.
You could probably do it in your sleep now, right?
Yeah. So things that happen all the time where you're really going to look crazy. That's what I call looking crazy. So I always prepare to make sure that Maria does not look crazy. But those times when you do look crazy, it's important to really kind of take full responsibility, your failures, and then learn from it. Because I'll tell you, there's some people out there who would say, well, in other counties, 90% of them, the bailiff will always swear in the witness. Your boss should have told you that and prepared you for the hearing. That could have been true, right? But at the same time, you as a lawyer, every single courtroom is going to be different. You need to do your homework. I should have asked, hey, what do I need to do? Are you guys going to swear in the witness, or do I need to do that beforehand? So I think in any situation, there's always going to be someone to scapegoat, but relying on other people when you can take ownership of your own learning is the way to go, to avoid. And that kind of goes into what I always say, you need to create your own standard for yourself. So it doesn't matter what kind of boss or supervisor comes in, your standard will always exceed anyone else's standards. Right. And you're going to have to shift it based on where you are, if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete and total sense. I think that's probably a type A personality rule right there.
Maybe.
But one of the things that I really love that you pointed out in that story, and I really want to emphasize it for just a second, is the fact that you took responsibility for your not knowing, for your mistake, whatever, and you were embarrassed, and you totally admit that, but you did not let it stop you. You did not let it affect your performance for your, in that courtroom and to protect the people of the county. So
absolutely.
I think as a resident, I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. I think, people have this idea about lawyers, and you being kind of self-centered, but there's a lot of folks out there like myself who put people first. And so no matter how I'm feeling, if I'm in a good, bad, or whatever day, I need to make sure I preserve, whether it's a defendant I'm defending or a victim I'm trying to be an advocate for. And so getting into, I know I'm segueing to other things, but getting into fights with opposing counsel, acting in a professional manner with the judge, whomever, is not beneficial when it looks bad on you, looks bad on your boss, and it doesn't move the ball further down for your current case or anyone in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you've already said this, the legal field is a very small field, and you're seeing these judges all the time. You're seeing these opposing counsel all the time, and you have to work with them, sometimes in opposition all the time.
All the time. So. Yeah, for sure. And I think there's a lot of, principles that you can really apply in other industries. Because the legal field is so contentious, you would assume that we're constantly working with people on opposite sides. But, being able to find a middle ground where both parties can be happy, I think is a skill that it would be applicable to other fields and industries, So
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So Maria, let me ask you something. Being a millennial, millennials are known for their collaboration abilities. Do you find that that's been helpful for you in this field, doing what you do, having to constantly pull in people from opposing sides?
Yes. I am, I'm a major collaborator. I when I deal with the case, I have a victim advocate, I have an investigator, that are own, and they have their own things that they're focusing on. Okay, I have my own role. There's a lot of vintage ways of doing things where the attorney is hierarchically up high and I can do all these things. I don't really need you to do this, And I think it works to the detriment of the victim and really the citizen. So I make sure I stay in my lane. I can do a lot of great things, but I know that there are skill sets from other people. And so whenever I'm doing something, even if it's purely legal, I ask my victim advocate, hey, what do you think about this? Does this make sense? Does it make common sense or not? My investigator. And honestly, I've had a few of them say, I've never been asked to give an opinion on this, And I'm like, well, you are an ordinary individual, right? Sometimes we can get in ourselves and really heady and use all these verbose terms and think we're just super smart when we're trying to talk to real people. And so they have being able to appreciate the different things that people can give makes collaborating very useful, because I don't know what they know. I don't know how they're going to be hearing the information and receiving it. And so through collaboration, they've saved me from looking crazy multiple times.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Collaboration is key. It really is with anything. And instead of, I think people have titles in organizations, whether IT professional that we have in our organization or what have you. But no matter what someone's position is, they have an opinion on what it is you're doing. And so I think just bouncing things off of people from different aspects is really helpful.
That's awesome. That's really good advice, I think. So let me ask you this. You are, you've been the assistant district attorney now for how long? 3 years?
I was a solicitor general downstate doing misdemeanor cases for about 3 years. And then I moved up here in January of 2016. Okay. And then promoted 9 months later to the elder abuse unit.
Okay. All right. So a little over 2 years you've been there. Now, what is it that your current boss or maybe a previous boss has done that really keeps you motivated and engaged and wanting to every day wake up, come into the office, and help the citizens of DeKalb County?
I think at the end of the day, my bosses have earned my loyalty and to do things throughout. I would say, most importantly, asking what I care about, asking how they can make me happier at the current job. What are the current issues you're seeing in the current job? Investing in me, viewing my personal success as their success. So in my current office, there's this thing called boomerang, right? Someone will work here or work for her for a few years and they will have to move on. She will do what she can to help you get a new job, but they always come back. People boomerang back because, and it also is like, there's a certain level of self-awareness. One job can't be your everything. No. Maybe a situation where you need to learn a particular skill set or hone a particular skill set, and you're able to do it in a different office. And once you have done that, then you can proceed to a different position that you're looking for. Right. So a thing, I can tell you about now 10 people that have boomeranged back to work for my current boss. And I mean, I am lucky, like beyond lucky to work for her. To give you an example, so she had recommended me recently, a few months ago, for this leadership academy. Sent me an email, hey, are you interested? You should apply. I applied. I found out 2 weeks ago, I got into the Winlet 2018 Leadership Academy. And they, thank you, they train women to be to run for office or work on political campaigns. And so just yesterday we had a little reception, and I have 3 young women on my current campaign that I'm managing. One goes to Clark Atlanta University, to John Marshall Law School. One's about to graduate in May in law school, and the other one is a 2L. I invited them, as well as one of their mothers, to come. And they were my guests yesterday. And we're so inspired by, all the women, and they were just elated. And I've learned that from my current boss, because circles that I can never get into. There are opportunities that will come to her that won't come to me. But if she has an opportunity to give me an extra seat at a table or an opportunity, she's going to pass it along. And so, but for me asking these young women to come with me, they would never have been at this golf course, eating this food, meeting these people, you know? And so investing in your employees' happiness with globalization as well as the internet, employees have options. And I think employers need to and know that employees have options, very good options. So it's not enough to just win an employee over once you hire them.
Right.
You continue to invest in their future and see that when they're happy, they're more productive. When they feel like they're personally growing, it's beneficial to your bottom line. It's not a short term. You're not going to see like higher money or profits like tomorrow, but it will definitely help you out in the long run. So that's what I think.
That's awesome. No, I mean, and I love that your boss is invested in you and has one long-term loyalty with you through just small investments of time and effort and energy. It wasn't necessarily big investments of money.
No.
It was just like, hey, I see this opportunity. I think it would be great for Maria. Let's pass it along. And I love that. I love that you've been the beneficiary of that, but I love that she's doing it. And I think that that's something that millennials, they want and they desire. And a lot of companies get, or organizations as a whole, get all caught up in like, oh, how much is this going to cost me? Well, I mean, it costs your boss, what, 10 minutes?
Right. And that's what people don't realize. There's a lot of perks that are really either inexpensive or free that you can do to encourage or make a connection. You know, I always try to think about, do you like your employees? I think that's important to ask yourself, do you like your employees? You know, if you don't like your employees, they need to figure out who you're hiring and what kind of environment and culture you have at your office, because that could detrimentally affect the productivity. So it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
You know, when my boss first took office last year, the employees who weren't used to her kind of leadership, what to do. My boss would send emails like, hey, the first 5 people get free tickets or can join me for this, you know, and I'm like telling people this is not a setup. Like it's not a trick question. This is real. You know, I gotta but that's the thing, you know, and I would say it's unfortunate that people are surprised when the boss is asking you to come for lunch or to come after work, saying that's not really work related, you know. But I said, you know, you've got to, it's a two-way street. People need to get to know one another, and people are to people they like, you know. It's not just about money, because you can get that anywhere.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I love that. And I love that your boss has invested in finding people that she likes and you like her in return. And so I'm guessing, I'm going to do some math here, but I'm guessing she likes you, you like her. And you have already said that you're very loyal to her, which means you would go above and beyond that 40 hours, above and beyond, you know, what's actually laid out in that job description. You're going to be like way up here when it comes to getting what needs to be done.
Absolutely. I think becoming the person that your boss can turn to crisis is very important. And you can only be that person when you've demonstrated the ability to go above and beyond, because you're willing to roll up your sleeves, do what's needed, try to fix problems before they even think it's a problem. It's always going above and beyond. You know, I think, you know, I've heard people say, well, that's not my job description. I need to do this. I need to do that. And, you know, you have to do things like that within reason. you know, I mean, I firmly believe in a good work-life balance. Anyone who knows me, it's, you know, I'm a very hard worker, but I also really enjoy my personal time, you know. And in order to do that, you have to be really organized and you have to really prioritize. But like going above and beyond, you're willing to do that when you work for a boss you like, when you work for a boss who respects your opinion, and is invested in your success.
All right. So I heard some really good millennial buzzwords there in that last piece. I heard, you know, you feel heard, and I heard that you feel loyalty and going above and beyond. And I feel like there's a third thing that I'm dropped out of.
I can't remember.
Well, regardless, you had some good quality millennial buzzwords. But that's the thing, like, you are a rock star at what you do. You above and beyond, you are not like a stereotypical millennial. You are this literal legal rock star. Legally, you are. And so, but your boss, I think, has done a really good job, has really done a good service, not only for you, but also for the entire county, because, you know, you guys are protecting us in a lot of ways. So by her, you know, pouring into you, and I'm assuming it's not just you in your office, it's a bunch of other people.
A bunch of other people.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as much as I love you, Maria, I don't think that you're her teacher's pet. So I'm sure that, you know, other attention is paid to other assistant district attorneys in that office, I assume.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think, you know, trainings as well is super, super important. I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh my God, I've never been to a training. I'm just a legal assistant, or I'm just a secretary. What kind of training? There's always personal development training.
Wow.
Word, whether it's Excel, whether it's, you know, you want to learn how to manage people, you know, we're asked, okay, within 5 years, where do you want to be in the beginning of the year? And it doesn't matter if where you want to be in 5 years is not in this office, because wherever you're going to be, it's going to look and reflect well on my supervisor and my boss. Okay. So that discussion, honestly asking, you know, I kind of think of, you know, how it was before when you have people working for you for 30 years and they didn't go anywhere. So you don't have to really ask, like, what do you like, right? Because, well, there weren't options. There wasn't an internet where you can find another job that's going to actually make you happy.
Right.
So this is where we are now. And I think that you can no longer ignore the personal desires of your employee.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, you know, I think a lot is to be said with how connected we are. You know, used to be you would walk out of the office, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever it is, you'd shut your door, and like there was the physical disconnect. But with technology, there is no physical disconnect from the office. You have to actually make that conscious choice. There's no door to shut, because, you know, your boss can ping you in the middle of the night on your cell phone, or call you in the middle of the night on your phone, or email you, or whatever. And so you have to make that choice. And it's a really important decision to make. Mm-hmm. What was that?
I was going to say, you would say your boss can call you in the middle of the night or whatever. I've never gotten a work-related call in an inappropriate time. You know, I'm friends with a lot of my supervisors, and if after 7 or 8, it's another personal issue, like a personal text message or call, not work-related. And I think that goes to respect again.
I agree.
Respect of my time. You know, I think it would be awkward for me to get something, a message or whatever from my boss after 6 o'clock. That's work-related, unless something super, super pressing, emergency. And just when I know something right there and then doesn't mean you're going to, that's just, I
agree. When my son was little, I had a boss who I had to call in sick because my son was sick. I had to take him to the doctor that day. Mm-hmm. And he called and emailed me while I was sitting in the pediatrician's office. And he knew what was going on. This wasn't like a surprise. And it wasn't an emergency on his end. He was just like, hey, I needed to know this. And I'm like, are you kidding? Is this for real?
Right. You know, usually with my boss, you have to fight with her to stay in the office. If something happens, personally, she's aware of it, you're virtually pushed out. Like literally get out, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's having that work-life balance is like, it's no longer called work-life balance. It's just being reasonable.
It is.
Reasonable and caring and nice. And so that's why people are like trying to flock here, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sounds like a fantastic place to be, honestly. I mean, if she is that caring about her employees and about their life outside of work, she knows that eventually, I mean, I'm sure this is not why she's doing it. She sounds like just a wonderful person, but she knows eventually that productivity and everything will come back to her benefit. So,
totally.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's why she's doing it, but
of course. But I mean, and that's kind of, you know, when things go left, right, and you're put in a bind, and being able to have people available in a time of need, really about how you live your life. And that's kind of what happens when you are this kind of a person. And that's what I try to do, is making sure that, you know, you continue to be there for people when a lot of times you have something that someone else doesn't have, and you're able to just give it to them really easily as far as advice or connection or what have you. And that people remember those things. People remember those small things that you think, oh, it's just an email or whatever, but it really means a lot to someone else.
It does. It does. No, you're 1,000% right. When your employees like you as a person, they're far more likely. The statistics are just through the roof. They're far more likely to stay long term. I want to say it's like close to like 86% or something like that. It's
right.
It's unbelievable. So, all right, Maria, how can our audience get in touch with you through LinkedIn if they wanted to connect with you further?
Of course.
Okay, perfect. Well, we are going to wrap up. I mean, Maria and I could probably stay here and talk, and you guys would get bored at some point, I'm sure. But thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Millennial Rockstar podcast. And thank you so much to Maria Banjo of the DeKalb County Assistant District Attorney. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Millennial Rockstar Podcast. If you are looking for even more information on millennials and some free resources, visit my website at amandahammett.com. The link is below. It's amandahammett.com. There you can download a free millennial employee engagement guide that will give you all kinds of tips and tricks on how to keep those millennials engaged on a day-to-day basis. Because we all know that millennials who are happy at work are more productive at work.